Okay, so here we have ourselves a VOD review request for, what is that, 2400 Echo. Okay, I think we can make that work. Sure, I've got everything set. Yeah, good.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Mobility increased. Defend objective A. Focus on the objective.
If any of you want
Minimize
VOD
errors.
reviews, you
Adapt
can
to
reach
changing
out to me.
battlefield conditions.
You
And
can
good
reach
luck.
out to me through Discord, YouTube comments, or or Twitter. Reach out to me, and I can go ahead and quote you a price for that. Yeah, but for now, let's continue with this one. You don't really need to lead the charge here. Not a thing you need to do.
Enemy turret destroyed.
What's your focusing beam? That Mercy was less than half health, and if she gets that res off, it's the end of the world.
Double
Okay,
kill.
it's not the end of the world, but it's bad. Yeah, so you potentially deny that Zen kill if you pulled out the focusing beam when that Mercy was below half, but not a big deal.
The turret is no more. Everyone, on the objective. Enemy turret ahead.
What? Okay.
Enemy turret destroyed.
Good. Better. Didn't really leave those bombs properly, but we don't need to
Taking damage.
nitpick.
System health compromised. Objective A captured. Escort the payload.
It's fine. It's just poke.
Going free.
Okay, so I can live with this, but you want to make sure that now that your team is your team here, let's actually, before I go totally wild on this, team's not really here yet, so you are looking to transition over a bit. Your Hanzo's already done that, but you'd love to transition, be able to play up here, threaten from up here. If you get in danger, drop. Then on your next cooldown, once your team is pushed up and actually taken some of this space, push up to here. You've got that, threatening ability to vertically take space, and it's a shame to use it as little as you are. And the reason that it's a shame is because you having that extra angle, you forcing the enemy to look up more, means they're not looking at your team. Or if they are looking at your team, they're not really paying attention to you. The more different directions the enemy has to look, the harder their life gets. You can't go wild with it. You have to do it in places where you have cover, because they do have that Zen and McCree. But you do still want to you do still want to threaten from there as best you can. Just have cover while you do it.
I need a health restore. Enemy turret eliminated.
You can. Okay, that's fine. I'll live.
Executing Viper meters.
Okay, this is fine.
Adaptive circuits engaged.
I don't think you need to do that yet.
Going
Just
free.
look at your health.
I need a health restore. Enemy turret eliminated.
I don't really love this sequence in general. Okay, you're winning this fight. They're backing up, you are getting cart progress, you have better poke than they do. And you have better poke than they do in that you have yourselves a Echo, a Hanzo, and a Sigma and a Zen. Like, those are pretty good poke. What poke do they have? They have a Zen, a McCree. Mercy helps their poke, so a Mercy will say you're winning on the poke front overall here. So if they're going to back away from you like this, if their D.Va can't aggressively hold that angle, their Reinhardt is losing shield and backing up, and his team has to back up with him, great. you're happy to take the cart space, but as well as taking the cart space, you want to move up and take more aggressive positioning so that you can keep poking them without putting yourself in serious danger. So I don't mind the movement ability usage here, but I would have preferred that you went to the right where you maintain better cover. Because here you don't have great cover. If you drift a little more to the right, you have better cover that you can quickly go to.
Adaptive circuits
And
engaged.
you just went, okay, there's a lot of issues with this. So one of the issues with this is you were still at 200 HP, and one of the cool things about Duplicate is when you use it, you go to full health. So it's a nice second life. Like having Duplicate up lets you take more aggressive dives, and this sort of is a more aggressive dive. If it was really a more aggressive dive, you'd have potentially gone in a little closer, but this was a more aggressive dive in that you're pushing up, you're committing in pretty hard on this. So Duplicate is nice in that when it's up, you can do a more aggressive dive. But is your team really ready to support this dive? Like, there's still a diva that your team, including you, can be killing for free. This diva is going to struggle to get out. She's discorded. She's at 60% health. You guys can kill her for free effectively. You don't need to be in here going deep to try and fight their team because you can just take this diva kill for free. If you'd instead gone over here, you go, yeah, okay, I'll peek at this diva. I'll drop back down onto bus here and I'll shoot at this diva harder. Or I'll jump up here and, go in here if I get too much trouble. If I get in too much trouble, I can drop back here, etc. Like, there's all sorts of safer positions where you can shoot at this diva and Mercy from just fine while not being threatened by this portion of the team. Because this portion of the team, these 4 people are basically doing nothing right now. And you might go, oh, but I really want to secure this Rhine kill. Okay, but you have to go into a place where your team can't really help you. Can your Zen help you if you drop where you're going to drop? No. Can your Zarya help you? Definitely not. Can your Sigma help you? Nope. Can your Ana help you even? Not really. And you're almost certainly going to keep pushing forward because, this Zen, etc. is going to back up. So, no, you're trying to force a 1v. You're trying to force a 1v4 when you don't need to. There's a free kill. Take the easy kill on the diva here. Take the easy, continue to build a bigger league, etc. And then when you do use your Duplicate, use it when your whole team is ready to push in, can support the push, etc., can support the play. You ulting like this is a big play that your team can't really support. So don't do this. Wait until your team is in a position to support. In the meantime, continue building up your lead with your poke, etc. And now you're going even deeper out of your team's line of sight. Your Ana and Zen can't help you here. So, congrats, you got Earth Shatter, but are you even going to be able to use it without dying? I think you can get... Okay. You should have been flashbanged. You 100% should have been flashbanged there. And yeah, the instant that you got it was close. The instant that you got your shatter out, you got forced out of Duplicate because you're too deep alone. And look at what your team did. Your team was like, oh yeah, we got this. Here, let me make sure I'm not crazy.
Enemy turret eliminated. Adaptive circuits engaged. Reinhardt.
Your team got that DMAC that I said that they were going to get for free while you were doing all of this. They were going to get that either way. So, yeah, not a big gain that you guys got there. Go peek up through the right corner. You've got 200 health. You want to get yourself... Oh. You want to get yourself up through this corner where you can peek at a different angle. It's more extreme and it makes them do a little more. Oh, I have to look over here and I have to look over here, etc. There we go. That was a better dive because you're making the dive. You're making the dive. You're going in hard to support your teammates' play. Your team is dragoning, and your team is actually in a position to follow up on this. See how your whole team can see and contribute to this fight that you dove into this time? That's a big difference, and it worked a lot better. Yeah, you guys also used, lift plus dragon, so of course that helped it go cleaner. But for your dive, since you're a poke dive hero here as Echo, you poke, and then when your whole team can support you and you've built up a big enough lead against this type of comp, that's when you go for your dive.
Clearing the way.
My ultimate is ready.
Team kill.
If you go main, I'm going to be upset.
Lord has reached
Why would you go main?
Nano boost. My ultimate is ready. Nano boost is ready.
Hanzo was ready to go high ground. Why didn't you go high ground with Hanzo? The two of you could have drove stuff back. You'd have been fine.
My ultimate is ready.
turret ahead.
Yep, this is fine. Get your poke out.
Going three. Target locked. Enemy turret eliminated. Repairing internal circuitry.
Yeah, that's a fine reset.
Ready for transcend.
Enemy turret ahead.
Nano boost is ready.
Deployed.
Okay, so I like that you're going high ground this time. I say as you don't go high ground. Yeah, I know there was a torp through the wall, but still.
Adaptive circuits engaged.
I mean, let's look at this. Your team is here. You're putting an extra thing on the board. Your team is already grabbing, so really you've already won this fight. This isn't necessary.
Systems on fire.
You are lucky that that McCree doesn't believe in flashbangs. That's fine. You should be able to swing into a fire strike. You messed that up.
Personality due. Enemy turret ahead. Stabilizing.
Let's make sure we understand what happened to your team here. So did their Rhine just do that much work on your team back there? Because the McCree and the Mercy are dead. And let's see how this went. The Rhine hit the big shatter, and they Molten Cord, but you guys Transcendenced. So this is as much your team backing out. Okay. It's just unfortunate. I mean, if you'd been ult tracking, you could have known that they're Reinhardt and Shatter, and since you duplicated Reinhardt, you could have been the Alpha Reinhardt and blocked him, but I'm definitely nitpicking.
Changing position. Enemy turret detected. In
Okay, so you can play different angles than your team. You don't have to be right here with your team. You can go up and take that high ground. Like, you have vertical mobility. You're one of a limited number of characters that have it. Don't be afraid to use it. You know, they can shoot at you. They actually can't shoot at you very well anymore. They dropped the McCree for the Tracer, so that makes the high ground, that makes the air even better for you. And while you don't have a Mercy, you know, it's not like Yanis can't hit you, and you can certainly demand the Harmony Orb to a degree.
system health offline.
Good.
Boosting up. Mark on my target.
Behave.
Yeah, you're a little light on your beam usage in general. So remember, your shot's a bit of a projectile, so you can kind of do the, okay, I'm shooting my shots, and then when a target gets to about 60% health, something in that range, I'm talking the squishy heroes like the 200 HP heroes, or the Baby Diva, I guess 150, the 225 HP heroes. When the squishy heroes get down to about 60% health, that's when you want to pull out your beam, and what you're looking at there is, hey, your last projectile is already in the air, because projectile has travel time. If that hits, it's going to knock them down, and even if it doesn't, your beam does last long enough that as long as you have reasonable accuracy with it, you can, how shall I say, you can kill them from about 60% to 0. So that's going to be worth doing. Yep, good. Okay.
Fire at will. Score 0-3. Switching sides.
Nothing too wild here. You know, we talked about the beam a bit. We could also talk about your bombs, your mines a bit. Your leading with them definitely needs some work, and that's something you should go practice because you can get a lot more damage out of them. But it's kind of just that. It's literally a, hey, you're going to get some value out of going and practicing with those. Literally just doing some mechanical practice with those replay, workshop, etc.
Incoming in 30 seconds.
But the bigger thing is by far, or the more high level thing we'll say, is that make sure you're taking those, making sure you're making use of that verticality. It's what you're here for.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
So see what I mean there? You shot all of your bombs sort of straight, and that ended up being okay, but in theory you would have wanted to be dragging them sort of along the path that you wanted them to walk on. So if we look at this, we're talking about your bombs. You just put them all right here, and that doesn't make sense because heroes are mostly going to be walking forward, right? They're going to be either walking like this or walking like this. So you needed to be leading a little bit where you think they're going to be going, or if you're not sure, you could even split the difference a little here, you know, and okay, maybe it'll stick to a Rhine shield, etc. Or if you think that they're going to go, oh shoot, I take damage and I'm immediately going to back off. That would be the less likely scenario. But if that's what you think is going to happen, you'd be leading this way with your dragging of your mines, etc. Because you know your mines don't all instantly go out. There's a little bit to them. You can lead them a bit, so make sure that you're doing that. It's a projectile. Projectiles have to be led. You have to be going, okay, where's the target going to be? How are they going to react to taking this damage? You have to be predictive.
Light routine activated.
Let's take another look at that.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
Those ones I don't care about, or those ones we've already talked about.
Activated.
Okay.
Der Kampf ist noch nicht vorbei.
Tried to lead a little more that time. You were just wrong in your timing, your positioning, your distance. You were effectively wrong with your travel time, but I do like that you tried to lead a little bit more that time. But like I said, that's something where there's a lot of damage to be had there. You probably do want to spend some time workshopping on that, etc. And now you're on the Discorded Monkey, and that's good. You don't have to leave yet. You what? Okay, like I get it, but yeah, okay, fine.
Adjusting angle of attack.
No. They go off faster than that. You can't lead that much. You're also wrong on their audio cue of whether they were above or below, but that's fine. Yep. Better beam usage. Yeah, so you do need to be a little more hyper aware of their hit scan. Hey, they have a hit scan. You need to mentally sort of make note of if you haven't found him yet. Like, okay, I need to constantly have a third eye looking for him effectively because you sort of floated right up into his sight here, and he was a valid target. So you challenging him, you putting some poke on him, you putting some pressure on him before going after the other target once he was here was something you pretty much have to be doing. So let's just kind of show you what I mean. So this is fine. You're on the Rhine. You're finishing the low health target. There's a Zen up there. That's your Zen. Great. That's good. You were following the Discord. You're doing the low health target where you get the damage boost. But he's already there. Like, if you look here, that soldier's already there as you're looking for this target here. And you still needed to be going, hey, I haven't found soldier yet, and a soldier exists. I know that. Where is he? So, like, swapping over to this Moira, I'm totally fine with you being on the Reinhardt. He was discorded. He was below half health, all that good stuff that makes him a great target that you follow on. But all things being equal, you, as Echo, need to deal with a soldier faster than you need to deal with a Moira, especially if they're not in the same place. So you need to be looking and shooting at the soldier. Yeah. And by the time you turn, you were at 80 health. It's over.
Taking off.
Dein Teufel ist da.
Enemy driving.
My ultimate is charging.
Good. No, that's early. You were too early with your beam there. I said you could go early on squishies. You can't really go early on tanks, and you went when he was still at like 80% health and wasn't discorded yet. Good.
Changing position.
Nice of her to donate her ult like that.
Moving up.
Good. That was better too. Didn't hit him, but I don't mind. You were leading properly. Okay, but why are you still here? Like, you could have been up over on top right, top left. Like, top right would have been good. Are you thinking, oh, I can't be top right because Monkey will jump me if I'm top right? If so, let's watch this again, because you had a window to go take top right when he used his cooldown. If you do that, that's fine. Monkey just used his cooldown. So since Monkey just used his cooldown, Monkey is vulnerable to poke, and you are a poke character who can get almost anywhere. Monkey's big thing holding him back is that he's vulnerable to poke. So if you lift and sort of go to the other high ground right here, or lift and then just make sure you finish on the other high ground over here, you can make him very unhappy as you poke him out. Right now, you're not poking him out. You're instead poking the Rhine. And that's okay, but poking the Rhine shield is less valuable than poking the Monkey. You can force his cooldown. You can make it so if he tries to push your Hanzo, you get to shoot him in the butt. All those good things. And now it's a little late to be using... Well, now you're using Duplicate, but... You should have been up on high ground where you could have been putting more pressure on that Monkey. That was much more vulnerable, much more valuable than putting pressure on the Rhine shield.
Reinhardt.
You're also playing Reinhardt Run. You see, when you pick the Reinhardt and you go deep with him like that, you're not getting a lot of value. If you want to do the Reinhardt thing, you want to make sure that you're doing this, let their Reinhardt get closer so that you're burning less duplicate time. Make sure your team is in a place, and then you want to, like, if you're going to pin him, you go try and pin him to the side. But honestly, long pins like that are bad, but honestly, swings are generally going to be better. He can't swing evenly with you because you gain ult charge so much faster than him. Swings are generally going to be quite a bit better.
Flight routine activated. Stabilizing system core.
Did you not have anyone who could give you a Harmony Orb or anything? I guess not.
Moving up. 60 seconds.
Oh, perfect.
Finishing on.
Yeah. He's going to want to come up this way pretty much every time, and every time he uses Leap to come up this way, you want to go up to the opposite high ground and punish him, that monkey. But I know, you weren't aware he was here, you'd used your cooldown to leave, go get the health back, etc.
Learning from that one. Objective is lost. Stop the payload. This is my will.
No. No! You're poking 1v6. Your team isn't here ready to help you. What if that Mercy's boosting that soldier and that soldier hits a couple headshots? Like, you don't want this. That monkey you can poke at, though. You can close the angle on the rest of the team and poke at that monkey. That's good. And being up there was good. You don't need to drop back down here. Again, that Reinhardt was not in a place where beam was appropriate. Too early. Yeah, poke out their Tracer, that's great. And now swap to the monkey. If you can stop their dive team from doing work because they can never stage without being missing a lot of health, that's huge. Get the minion, now maintain this angle. Yep, that's fine. Okay. Not a big deal. You were right to be up here even though the soldier got you. You just didn't break line of sight quite fast enough. And your team should be able to win this without you. You did enough work. So again, at this point, your job is sort of to not get killed by the soldier, but to do poke, and specifically poke on their Winston, their Tracer. Those are going to be really valuable. Poke onto the Ryan or, the supports if there's nothing else there, but if you can make it really hard for their monkey or Tracer to set up by constantly putting some poke pressure on them, that's going to help your team a ton. So turn and shoot at that Tracer. If you turned and shot at that Tracer instead, she wouldn't have been able to... Anyway. Good. Good.
I am on fire. My ultimate is charging.
Yep, that's good. It's okay to hit an X here. That's fine. You challenging the Tracer like that is appropriate. She outplayed you. It happens. You challenging her was still the right move. Good. So obviously you didn't need to reopen that angle to peek at them when you were basically down to a 2v6, but it also doesn't really matter. If you tried to leave harder, you might have still gotten staggered, so it's fine. Nice. And now you can actually continue to flank right because your team your team should have known to push off that. Your team was all in position except you, so ideally you'd have pushed up, wrapping around on the right while your team pushed in, and you'd have told them on comms, push, push. Yeah, of course they were going to get the res, and that's fine, but it's, you know, great to fight them while they've used those cooldowns. And look at, well, anyways, it's fine.
Adaptive circuits engaged.
Okay, so if you're going to duplicate like this, I don't mind it, but where would be a great spot for Junkrat to be? One of the cool things about Echo is she can use her abilities to get high ground for characters and then still have those characters' abilities off cooldown. Usually Junkrat would have to mine up here, or he'd have to path up here, you know, all the way throughout here, etc., etc. You can fly and then make sure you duplicate in a place where you're going to fall onto this high ground, and then you can drop all these wonderful nades. And you can actually go take this space pretty safely because your duplicate is going to give you the second life as long as you pop it before you die. So if you go down to 80, 60 HP, you pop your duplicate, etc., it's okay to take 100 damage on the way to this. It's not great, but it's okay. So that's what you'd want. That's basically what I'm trying to say here is try to make sure that when you're using your ability, when you're using duplicate, it's great if you can end on high ground for characters that want it. Yeah, that was poorly explained, but high ground is good. How's that? Yeah, so this is fine, but you'd be even more threatening if you were hitting them from up there while your team was hitting them from where you're hitting them. You'd also be safer for this inevitable tire if you could do it from in the room up there.
60 seconds. I'll just leave it here. Personality duplication complete.
Ready for transcendence.
Helden sterben nicht.
There's that Junkrat. Poke him out. Poke him out. Okay, that's fine. If you're going to turn to deal with the Reinhardt, you want to try and close the angle a little. You're in your Zen's trance, so it's okay. But yeah, over here is better. Okay, now you should drift up to the left. Go vertical to the left. Vertical to the right, I'll live with. You kind of were throwing mines into a grasp there, but they missed, so it didn't matter. Yeah, so the reason I wanted you to go left is if you go left, you can sort of end your boosters, because, you know, your boosters don't last forever, but you can end your flight. Up over here, up over here, up over here. Here's really too dangerous for most of it. Now here could be okay if the rest of your team was fighting, but here and here are places that you can end, where you have escape paths, you have cover that you can duck bind and use, etc. You can go that way, etc. And then the next boosters you use, you get to start from higher, so you sort of get to stay in the air for longer. You get to stay in the air for longer, and you just sort of hold space and make sure you drift down over here when those run out, etc. So that's why I wanted you to, when I was saying earlier, use boosters and go left. I wanted you to go there and not here, because here you just kind of end up down here, or you end up down here, and then your next boosters, that's not any better. Whereas here, your second cycle of boosters would have been better effectively. You'd been able to maintain a steeper angle on them, which is great because they're not looking that high up. Like, oh, they have to really crane their neck, which puts you on their screen. Great. And you've still got some cover to play with here, but that means they're hard not looking at your McCree, who's right here and shooting at them, etc., because their screen is in this direction and all that jazz. Okay.
Score 3-3. Initiating match.
Skip a little.
Ready for battle.
Skip a little more.
Ready for battle.
We'll do it. Good poke. Good minds. But why did you end here? Why did you drop here? You want to be, if you can boost from high ground, that's better for the reasons we just explained. And now you want to make sure you finish this boost on high ground, but I'd probably be looking to finish this boost over on the left high ground. Okay. Good. You pressed X that time. Nice minds. Again, if you finish these boosts on top left, you've got much better angles for doing this work. Here, if they're looking at Sigma, they also see you. If they're looking at you, they also see Sigma. You make them choose a little harder. You make it so that those are bigger flicks to be looking at both of you. If you finish your boost up over here, you can do work. Or if you finish your boost up over here, you can then shoot right behind their shield and you can close this angle with this high ground whenever you want. Whereas if you finish your boost here, you're just out in the open in no man's land. You want to be finishing your boosts on high ground, on places you can do work. This is worse than the other two places because, you know, there's an Orisa shield in your way, but it's still better than finishing in the ground, you know, on the ground like that. And it does have the value of, hey, you have a 3.5 way surround on them with you here, Sigma there, Hog there, and McCree above him. Generally want your rock to cancel his grasp, but that's fine. Okay.
Score 3-3. Switching sides.
And Sigma's another one of those heroes. Usually Sigma has to use his own ult to fly, so if your duplicate had been from high ground, hey, you're a Sigma on high ground who gets to rain down easy rocks, easy left clicks, etc. All that good stuff. You know, can take that angle shielded on the high ground, all sorts of fun things.
One. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Activating the barrier.
You're early.
Adjusting angle of attack.
Your team isn't ready. You're poking in effectively 1v6, 1v5 here, and you have pretty good poke. So, you know, that's nice that you have pretty good poke, but your team isn't ready. Your team, if they're going left, they're going to take, you know, a good 4 seconds still. If they're going under, which is what they are doing, you needed to not peek until they were like here, or preferably here. Because you peeking draws attention, which helps them get in, but you're going to take some damage and be forced out, and you're going to have to go get the health pack, and then they're going to be fighting 5v6. You follow what I'm saying? Because you are more likely to take damage in this effectively 1v6 than these guys are. If this McCree takes damage that's not lethal, the Mercy's going to boost him. The Ana can also shoot at you. So McCree and Ana can easily shoot at you. Orisa can take shots at you. You might think you can get out and she might prevent it with a halt. And if this McCree takes damage, Mercy just can heal him. Mercy can damage boost the McCree to shoot you. Like, this is all pain for you right now. Now, I say that, and you're probably going to, like, insta-give the McCree, and, you know, it'll be like, see, no, you're wrong, Temporal, but I'm not wrong. Okay, so we do this. Good. This is better because this is a dive while your team is pushing in, ready to push in, etc. So no one else can pay attention to you, really. Well, okay, it's a touch early, but it's better than it was. Because your McCree and your Ana have rolled out here. They did their thing here. Your Hog is threatening this Orisa, so this Orisa doesn't want to look at you. So that's why this is better. These guys are doing work, and since these guys are doing work, that gave you the freedom to actually take a 1v1 against the McCree instead of worse. Nicely done. Good stuff. See how you finished on high ground? And because you finished on high ground, you have this nice angle. Now you're dropping. But because you finished on high ground, you had this nice angle to continue to do work around his shield on him. So yeah.
Victory.
Your biggest thing, your single biggest thing is going to be you want to finish your boosters on high ground. You want to be more aware of, hey, I want high ground in general. I'm a super vertical character with Echo. Even when they have a hit scan, that means I'm not just floating wildly through the air. That means I'm using boosters to get to high ground, or I'm going up behind cover and then I'm still finishing on high ground. High ground is very much your friend for these things, as well as high ground cover. The other thing is your duplicates are way too early. You've got the duplicate at bus where you went in and tried to take a 1v4 with your duplicate and you did not get good value out of that. You had the duplicate when they were pushing into first where you duplicated Reinhardt and did a deep charge in, etc. That again was early. So you want to be using your duplicate. Think of your duplicate as sort of like okay, we're committed. And that means either the enemy team is committed into your team, or your team is in a place where they can help you, and your team has clearly made the decision. We're no longer in the poke phase, we're in the committed to the fight phase. Or your duplicate can be the thing that changes that, but make sure that the team is in a place where they can really do that follow-up. I hope that makes sense. Anyways, that's what I've got. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to me. If you want to set up a session, I can be found on Discord, YouTube, Reddit, or Discord, YouTube comments, Twitter, any of that stuff. Reach out to me and we can come to an arrangement on what a session will cost. Thanks, guys. Tim Portal out.